everyone, how you doing today? My name's Kirsty, aka Beth Bookish, and this is the mid-year Freakout. I'm in a race right now between natural daylight, storage, and batteries. So let's see if we can do this. If you don't know the mid-year Freakout tag by now, you're either very, very new to YouTube or you have lived under a rock. This is one that's been going around for forever and was created by Ellie at Earl Grey Books, as well as Chemi from Is That Chemi? Both of whom will be linked below. Please go support them. And it's basically just a little mid-year check-in, see where we're at with our goals, and have a bit of a reflection on the books we've read so far this year. There are 14 questions here, but I've added a few of my own in that aren't included because I just want to do a little bit more. So the very first thing that I'm going to do before I go into the questions of the tag is just a little check-in of my goals. So at the start of the year, I set myself the goal of reading 50 novels, or like non-manga graphic novels, and 100 manga and graphic novels. As of filming, I have completed 36 novels, and 59 manga. So I am well on the way to achieving both of these goals. Thankfully, with the manga, it's because I did the 30 and 30 challenge last month, so please go check that out. But it means that I'm now ahead of both, and it looks like I will be well and truly within those goals by the end of the year. So that's where I'm at with those goals. And then I have 3 extras that aren't in the tag that I'm adding in. So the first of these is the best 2024 release that I've enjoyed so far. Has been Not in the Plan by Dana Hawkins. This is a sapphic romance. I had a fantastic time with it. And it's also a debut as well, so it's got that double whammy of being a debut as well as a 2024 release, and I just had a really great time with it and I really enjoyed it. Number 2 is the best manga that I've read so far, and that by far is the series The Masterful Cat is Depressed Again Today. I've read books 1 through 6 so far, and it's going to be an all-time favourite. I've absolutely loved every single volume and it's just so cute. I have a couple of honourable mentions. The first of these is The Yakuza's Guide to Babysitting. Did not expect it to be as wholesome as it is. And one that's probably going to shock a lot of you, because I've talked before about how I will never read this series because it's too big, too extensive, and going to be too expensive to get into, and I'm into it, and that is One Piece. But yeah. I'm now kind of obsessed. So the live action has done its job and it's hooked me in. And then the third one is the best audiobook. And I don't read a lot of audiobooks, but I have read a few this year, and my favourite was the Raven Cycle series with Will Patton as the narrator. I just thought they were really well done and fantastically narrated. But in very, very close second place is Winter's Orbit, the audio narrator for that. Even though the story itself wasn't my favourite, his narration was just sublime, and all the different accents and everything like that he did were up there with Joe Jameson, and we all know how high a pedestal I put him on. So it was fantastic. But now on to the actual questions that are actually in the tag. And the very first one of this is, what is the best book you have read so far in 2024? And for this, gonna surprise a few of you because it's a non-fiction. I know, who is this bitch? But it is Strong Female Character by Fern Brady. I read this back in January. I had all the feels because I did not realise just how much I was going to connect with her, and just the whole, how she's written about her experience with autism and some of the things that she goes through. I was just basically reading myself, and I went through a lot of emotion reading this, and I definitely think it was an extremely well written book and very poignant and heartbreaking and just all of the feels, and is definitely so far my favourite for the year. Then we have what is the best sequel for the year, and for this I've gone with King's Rising by C.S. Pacat, which is the final book in the Captive Prince trilogy. I loved it so much. It made me cry by the end. It was so good. and has cemented this as one of my favourite series. But yes, this was just absolute perfection for me. Very close second though is Blue Lily Lily Blue, which is my favourite book in the Raven Cycle series. I just felt it was the best book in the series, had the most character development, had the most atmosphere, and did the most with the plot, and I just thought it was an incredible instalment. Number 3, new releases you haven't read yet but you want to. I have 2. I have The Honey Witch by Sydney Shields, which is a sapphic cottagecore witchy cozy fantasy book. And then I also have Darker by 4 by C.L. Tan, which follows the story of demons and reapers and demon hunters and things like that. I have technically started Darker by 4, but I'm only 20 pages in, so I can't yet say that I have read it. And The Honey Witch I'm hoping to get to next month because it's going to be part of an upcoming project. Number 5 is your biggest disappointment. And this has got to be The Foxglove King by Hannah Witton. I had such high hopes for this. It had pretty much every single buzzword in my directory. It was sort of like about poisons and secrets and alchemy and royalty and witches and all of this stuff. And yet by 25% in, I could not tell you who any character was or what the hell was going on. It was just so boring, so bland, and everything kind of all muddled in together. And so yeah, I unfortunately DNF'd that and was bitterly disappointed because I had such high hopes after having loved For the Wolf. And then on the flip side of that, number 6 is your biggest surprise. So for me, I always see that as a book that I wasn't expecting to enjoy. I have 2 for this one. The first one is Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi, and I wasn't expecting to like this because I have never been a big fan, unless it's manga, I'm not a fan of translated fiction, and it was my 3rd attempt to get into a translated novel, but this one did end up hooking me in. I loved it. I did give it 5 stars and it made me cry by the end. And then the other one was A Psalm for the Wild Built by Becky Chambers. Again, did not expect to like it. I'm not really a sci-fi reader, but I really loved its unique look on how you can turn a bad situation into something good, as well as gave me a lot of thoughts about what it is to be and to have purpose in this world. Number 7, favourite new author, either a debut author or new to you. And for me, that's going to be Tara DeWitt. Tara DeWitt. I have read Rootbound and I am halfway through the co-op. And both of these, the Rootbound was a 4.5 and the co-op currently is sitting on a 4, and I've got a funny feeling it could push into the 5 stars. And I just feel she does romance really well. She doesn't put in unnecessary drama. These feel like real people and real situations. I don't necessarily feel like I'm reading fiction, and I just feel she writes very down-to-earth, believable yet complex romances, and I've been enjoying both of them very, very much, and I think she's going to end up becoming an all-time favourite. Number 8, newest fictional crush. I don't get them often, but when I do, they hit hard, and they tend to be the tortured emo boys, and this is no exception because Ronan Lynch. Need I say any more? Just Ronan Lynch. But on the other side of that, new favourite character, which is number 9, is Adam Parrish. Also in the Raven Cycle. I just absolutely love Adam. I relate quite a lot to Adam, especially in regards to how he grew up and how people perceive him based on his growing up and how he feels about himself, and some of the dynamics, not all of them, but some of the dynamics he has with his family. I just related to him, and I just think both him and Ronan in different ways are cinnamon rolls that I just want to cuddle and protect. And I love their dynamic and everything about them. A book that made me cry, I've already mentioned that Before the Coffee Gets Cold made me cry, but another one that did that was Heartless by Elsie Silver. This is book 2 in the Chestnut Spring series, and it made me cry more because of just how beautiful the romance was, and it was the very last chapter, like the epilogue, that just had me absolutely bawling. The tenderness, the way that Cade was talking to Willa, and just some moments involving Cade's son Luke had me tearing up. Anything to do with animals or kids, I'm probably going to cry. And then on the flip side, one that made me very happy, and I've lost it somewhere because I've just recorded another video where I was holding it up and I've put it down and I don't know where it is. Ah! Oh my god, my foot's on it. I'm standing on it. That is Fake Dates and Mooncakes by Shirley. I just smiled the whole way through this. I loved all of it and it made me laugh out loud quite a few times. It just brought me pure joy and I really want to see more from this author because this was sunshine and rainbows in a book. Then we have the most beautiful book you've either bought or received this year, and I have three-way tie for this. All three are hardbacks, which goes to show I really love hardback cover designs, and hardback cover designs are my preference. I think I just sat on the remote for the fan. But we have The City of Stardust by Georgia Summers. I've currently got the Just Jacket off. I started reading it and the book is upstairs. But that design and that cover is just absolutely beautiful. Then I have Crucible of Chaos by Sebastian de Castell. Again, I think it's a really stunning cover, and I also realised recently it's got a person in the background and I was like, wow, that took me too long to notice. But I just really, really love all of the fine details. I love the font and the way that they've got like the swords and it's so pretty. And then the final one I love purely for the artwork and the character design is Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. Just the details and the illustration, just gorgeous, and it's also some of my favourite colours, like the navies and the blues and the purples. I love it so much. What books do you need to read by the end of the year? I obviously have things like the Chestnut Springs books that I'm reading. I've got rereads of things that I'm reading. I've got my Read It or Reap series where I've got stacks of books that need reading. But three that I definitely need to prioritise and will get done before the end of this year. First up, I have The Fragile Threads of Powers. It is a crime that I have not yet read it and I am appalled at myself. Then I have Promise of Blood by Brian McClellan because I have to appease the void and this is his favourite book. So, you know, we have to give a sacrifice to the void every few months or he gets cranky. So I'm reading his favourite book to appease him. And then the other person that I want to appease and read the favourite book of is Ren, and so I'll be reading What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher at some point throughout this year. Otherwise it will be going on the flight with me when I go to Australia and I'll read it then. And then it's got number 14, favourite book community member. I traditionally, rather than just go with favourite book community member because otherwise we would have the same people every single year, what I've done is I go for the people who I am either have entered my roster recently and I've only just started to get into their videos, friends that I've made throughout the past year, and people whose content I've just been consuming more than anybody else's. But please also go check out last year's for a whole host of other names. I'm going to talk about Becca and the Books. I know she has been on BookTube for ages and she's on a lot of people's hit list for this, but to me, I only actually started watching her videos about 3 months ago and already am obsessed with them. And it's her Shelve It or Scrap It video series that inspired me to do Read It or Reap. So, you know, she has been inspiring me a lot lately. Brittany from Brittany Loves Reading, we've become very good friends over the past few months. We now voice note each other. We are doing we've got a collaboration vlog planned and it's the first time I've ever done that with anybody. And she's just become one of my sort of fundamental friends here on BookTube. Through her, I was then introduced to Leandra the TBR Zero, who is one of the most wholesome people you will ever meet in your life. And she's just so sweet and so lovely, and her reading sprints are always just a sheer joy to be a part of. There's Jem, the creepy geek. She's also become a friend of mine. She then invited me to join a K-pop chat group that I'm now in on WhatsApp. And we also talk about manga a lot, and I've got a lot of good manga recommendations from her. So, you know, she's a fantastic one. If you are into manga or want to get into manga, she's a fantastic one for that. And then the final one that I'm going to mention for this video is Olivia Savannah from Olivia's Catastrophe. She's someone who I've watched since I very first started 5 years ago. I was watching her videos and then I started watching them a bit more a few months ago, and now I've joined her Patreon and we actually private message each other every now and again, especially about things to do with Raven Cycle. I send her I've been sending little bullet notes of my thoughts as I've been reading the books. So please do go check out all of those people, give them a like, give them a follow, and yeah. So that is it. That is my mid-year freakout. As you can see, I'm not really freaking out, which is great because last year I kind of was, and I think the year before that I was freaking out at this point. But right now I'm feeling very comfortable. I've even with my journals, I will be doing like a flip through of my reading and bullet journal at some point. My bullet journal has kind of tailed off and I've been struggling to keep that going, but my reading journal I feel like I've actually been doing pretty well with this year. Am I still writing up stuff from March, April? Yes, but I'm still doing it, which is better than the last 3 or 4 years in a row. So I'm taking that win. But yeah, it's been good and I can't wait to get to December where I can go through everything with you and look at how everything's going to finish. But right now I'm feeling very good about the year and I feel like I've read some fantastic books. It was a bit of a slow start for good books, but in the last 2 months I've had multiple 5 stars and I've been very happy with my reading. Let me know in the comments how you've been getting on for the year. What has your favourite book been so far in 2024? I hope you're all good. I hope you're staying safe. Don't forget to check out my Patreon and my Etsy, both which are linked below, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.